What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Today we're just going to be pretty much interviewing yours truly, Kerry McCauley. Pretty much just going to ask some questions and see if I can get a good story out of him today. I think I know how to get them. I was watching your alternator failure, right? That video?
Yep.
Good stuff. I like that video a lot. I remember I was talking to you about my trip back from Missouri when I was picking up my friend and just talking about flying with low vis inside the cockpit. Like the dome light in there just didn't work, so I was using headlamp. And I just got talking to him with your alternator failure. You had mentioned you had what ferry flight was that where you lost your alternator? It was desert, Africa?
I was delivering a 210 from St. Paul, Minnesota to Dodoma, Tanzania.
Okay. What happened on that one? Because I remember when was that? When did that? What year did that
had
happen?
to be that. I'll have to look at my logbook. I believe it probably 92, maybe late 91.
Okay.
That whole trip was just crazy.
So, this is a good one?
Oh, man. So basically to start off the story, we started off, put ferry tanks in it. It's a 210, one of my favorite planes. Love the 210.
Cool planes.
Leave St. Paul for Bangor, Maine, where we cleared customs. From there, I went up to St. John's, Newfoundland. Then it's the long overwater flight to Santa Maria in the Azores. And I don't remember anything particularly harrowing about that
It's pretty
leg,
straightforward.
So the normal hazards of an 1,800 mile.
Yep. Where'd you fly out of St. Paul, by the way? Do you remember?
South St. Paul.
South St. Paul, okay.
Yeah. Then after, spent the night in Santa Maria, next morning flew to Morocco, Agadir, Morocco.
Okay.
That flight had one memorable moment to it. That's where I know you asked before, what do you do if you have to go to the bathroom? Which is it's not a big deal as far as if you got to pee. Just use the my standard Ziploc baggie. But this was the other problem.
Did it have autopilot?
Yes, this one at least had the autopilot. But I've only had to do that other thing twice ever in my whole ferry flying career. This was the first time. I was at least relatively prepared because I was always worried about this. So I had, my big plan was 2 garbage bags, basically like shopping bags, lined with paper towels. So I always flew with a big roll of paper towels because you need paper towels
for everything.
Cleaning windshields. That you really shouldn't use paper towels, but stuff,
yeah.
So line the bag with that. You kind of get up on the seat. You do that weird yoga pose, which is not really easy in a small single engine airplane. I think by then I don't know if I was probably just sitting on my survival suit, but got the job done.
Yeah.
Had the bags all nice and tied up, nice little package. Actually, pretty proud of myself. I was like, nice. And I'm over the middle, over the North Atlantic, so I'm not going to fly with this all day. So I open up this 210's got a window that opens up, and I've got everything all nice and careful. I'm like, this is going to be awesome. I'm just going to fling it out the door.
Little bombs
out
away.
The window, bombs away. I didn't see any ships, so I couldn't. I didn't have anything. No targets. Targets of opportunity. And ever so carefully, I flung it out the window, and it sailed away perfectly clean and smooth, no problems at all. At least that was my plan.
It did not go that way.
It did not go that way. Oh, as I tossed it out, the bag caught on the window latch and tore open and sprayed shit all over the side of the plane.
How many hours did you have left flying?
That was a 1,000-mile leg, and it was probably a quarter of the way into it. And I was heading for Morocco, which is deserty, just warm,
caked on there. Oh my god!
I was pretty upset. You kind of stick your head out. There's nothing you can do now. I can reach my hand out there. So I land in Morocco, and it's obvious what's on the side of the plane. So actually, they tell me where to park. Hey, just park right up front here. And I'm like, no, I'm going to park a little ways down the side and kind of point the plane so everyone at the airport can't see it.
Special paint job.
This guy, he comes driving in anyway and takes a look. He's like, wow.
Jeez. Oh.
that loud.
So that was on the same trip.
Yeah,
So I was on the same trip as alternator ferry.
Yep,
Okay. So this is when stuff's getting sideways.
Stuff happens.
Stuff happens.
Stuff has already happened. So I'm not even halfway, and I've already got an issue. Yeah, so I get there and it's caked on, and so pretty much every day, and there's a lot of it. So I'm sitting here with a credit card whenever I get a chance, scraping these little nuggets off the side of the beautiful paint job in this plane. Plane is gorgeous plane. And I didn't want to show up in Tanzania with this all over the plane, so I was kind of continuously chipping away at this every chance I got. But anyway, spend the night, go to the hotel. That was also where I had to sit down for dinner, and this young man comes up and says, hey, are you American? Yeah. Would you mind if I joined me? He looked Moroccan. Mm-hmm. Very well dressed, nice slick back hair, and we have a nice guy. And I always love meeting the locals. That's one thing that's really fun about ferry flying around the world. You meet a lot of people. You're
probably not doing the tourist route.
No. And after a while, I wouldn't say I get lonely. I actually like traveling by myself, but you kind of hunger for company a little bit.
Just
so
someone to
like,
talk to.
Have a seat. Great, sit down there.
Mm-hmm.
We had a great conversation, and he's asking me about America, and I'm asking about Morocco. And when I'm done, it's like, all right, well, see you later. Nice meeting you. He goes, hey, would you like to go back to my room?
No way.
Yeah.
You're silver-tongued dog, huh?
Yeah, and all of a sudden I'm confused, and I went,
you were
real flattered, dude, but nah, I'm going to have to pass. So I met a friend in Morocco.
This trip's just getting better and better.
Yeah.
That definitely inflated your ego, though.
Oh, yeah, well, somebody found me attractive. So I spend the night there. The next day, I got there in the late afternoon and spend the night. The next day, I went shopping and stuff and getting ready for the flight the next evening because it's 1,800 miles. It's almost 2,000 miles from Morocco to the Ivory Coast, and you fly down the bulge of Africa.
Okay.
It's over the Sahara Desert, and you fly that route at night because you're down in the Ivory Coast where the next stop was. It's going to be about a 14-hour leg, is really close to the equator, which is where the intertropical convergence zone is. Basically where the northern and southern hemisphere meet, the two air masses mix together and produce massive thunderstorms almost every afternoon. There's basically, imagine a ring of thunderstorms around the Earth on the equator.
Just
pretty
on the
much
equator.
Every afternoon, almost thunderstorms continuously there.
Okay.
And when Pete Demas, the owner of Orient Air, the company I worked for, when they first started delivering planes to Africa, they would fly that route, leave in the morning, get there in the afternoon, and they were always battling thunderstorms. It was very, it was.
And that's probably the early days of ferry flight.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't have GPS and all the stuff, and so they came up with the system. Basically leave at night, fly all night, get to
the coast,
the Ivory Coast, down by the equator in the morning when the weather's usually good. It's like, I like ending a 14, 15-hour leg in good weather, not fly all day just to arrive just in time for the afternoon thunderstorms, which might be parked over the only airport for 500 miles. I don't like that idea. So I, scheduled a weather briefing for about 9 o'clock. I was going to take off about 10 o'clock and then, fly all night. So I go to the airport in the evening, get my weather briefing. It's a long flight. It's the longest flight by far I've ever done in my ferry flying career.
What type of weather briefing you getting out of Morocco?
Well, zero. So I go and the guys, the weather shack's over there. It's sitting out by itself out in the sand, and I go in there and it's this broken chalkboard. I remember the chalkboard. It's like half a chalkboard. The one corner's busted off, and I see written on it in chalk is my N number for my airplane, and it has the forecast for my destination, which basically in the morning it's going to be nice, essentially.
Yeah,
and that's it.
That's all it said.
And that's all it said. It didn't have no winds aloft, no forecast for the route, no forecast for where I am. I guess I don't really need that. I can look out the window. But that was it. No winds aloft was the biggest thing. Because I'm going to be flying a really long way. And if I have no idea what the winds aloft are.
Again, this is before flight. And did you have GPS on this?
This plane had a GPS. So the first plane I ever flew with a GPS.
This is early models of GPS.
Yep, and actually I had this old Garmin, I don't remember the model, panel-mounted GPS. I was thrilled to death. I think I'd had one or two trips with one of the first handheld GPSs that Garmin put out on the market prior to this flight. But this one had it right on there. And so did you think I brought along a handheld GPS as a backup? No. Why would you?
They got this brand new technology.
This beautiful.
How could it fail?
Basically, back then, this was the equivalent of a G1000. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So I was so excited to fly a plane with this panel-mounted GPS. But anyway, the forecast had nothing, and that the forecast for the Ivory Coast was a couple hours old when I walked up to that chalkboard. And that means by the time I actually got to the Ivory Coast, that forecast was 20 hours old. So it's like, take it with a grain of sand. But what are you going to do? That's what you get. I'm going to wait till tomorrow and get a better forecast. There's no option.
It's going to say the same thing tomorrow.
It's going to say the same thing tomorrow. That's your forecast. Like, okay, great. So I go to file the flight plan. And back there you go up to the control tower, and you're doing that, and he goes, okay, that all looks good, but you better hurry. There's a haboob coming. Mm-hmm. I'm like, don't know what that is. He goes, sandstorm. I'm like, oh. He goes, yeah, as soon as you leave, we're shutting the airport down, and you better hurry, because if you don't get out of here really quick, we're going to shut it down. You're not going to get out of here in time. It's like right over there. I'm like,
you see that wall?
Well, it's dark.
Okay.
But it's like,
it's nighttime, right?
It's nighttime, but he goes, but it's like right over there. I'm like, got it. So run out to the plane, untie it, quick pre-flight. Luckily it was already all fueled up. It was all set to go. I had that done earlier, and take off. And as I'm leaving, I could kind of see the lights of the city already getting hazy. Mm-hmm. It's like, wow. And he goes, airborne, blah, blah, whatever time, the guy in the control tower. And the field is closed at this time. Like, it's like a door slamming shut behind you. Like, all right.
Just sitting there.
Yeah, it's like, and that's
onward.
And that's it, I guess. And my next stop is the Ivory Coast.
Wherever I end up, yeah.
And so, but I was excited. I was like, okay. So I take off, climbed altitude, autopilot on, kick back, got my Walkman with my tunes, the earbuds sticking inside your old David Clark's, which made your ears just hurt so bad after a while, the little earbuds in there. And settled back with my book for a long 14, 15 hour
You're getting that a little comfortable. You're like, all right, I got everything's checked out.
And the route from, there's only one city all the way from one airport from Morocco to the Ivory Coast is Bamako. And they say, don't land there.
What is that?
It says, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
There's no services. You'll be stuck. I mean, there's no fuel. There's no maintenance. There's no nothing. Don't even bother going there. If anything happens. If it wasn't going to happen. And I'm chilling, and about 3 hours into it, I get an RBL comes up. Mm-hmm. The RBL is a really bad light.
Yeah,
those are the lights on the instrument panel you never want to see. You don't
want to see that.
Oh, that's bad. And I look over. It's what's that? And I haven't seen that one before. And it says low voltage. Like, huh? I look over the ammeter, and the needle is just on the negative side of zero. I mean, if it's on the positive side, the system's charging. Negative side, it's discharging.
Yep.
But it wasn't way down there. I'm like, God, is that really? Have I really lost my alternator or voltage regulator or something? Like, check, and I quick turn on like pitot heater or landing light or something. I don't remember what, and it went way down and stayed down. Oh, yep, that's discharging. I've lost my alternator. Crap. Yeah. Turn that off. Quick turn all the exterior lights off. Turn the interior lights down while I'm getting stuff together, and I'm like, I'm going to have to lose the autopilot too. That's because what I want to do at that point, once you've lost your alternator, you're running on battery.
Right.
and you want to save the battery for your destination.
Because there's not much in those batteries.
Those batteries,
in terms of what you have to use it for.
Right. They say a brand new battery, if you leave all your normal stuff on, will last maybe a half an hour, maybe.
I feel like that'd be even stretching it.
That's really stretched. Yeah. That's like a brand new battery, fully charged.
Right off the line.
Yeah.
Even then.
So, and, when you get to your destination, you're going to want to need a battery for your flaps, your landing gear, your radios to communicate, navigation to find the airport.
Yeah.
You need all your juice at the end. You don't need it, for the next 12 hours.
Especially if you got to shoot an approach or something.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like an ILS. Because even though it's got a GPS in it, there's no GPS approaches. There were no RNAV approaches back then. There was VORs and ILSs. So if I got to shoot an approach, I need a radio. So I turn everything off, transponder off. I even unscrewed the little light bulb for the RBL. It's like,
really?
I knew I reached in it because you can't, that didn't have a rheostat to turn it down. It's like, it's on, like, get rid of that. Yeah. And the last thing I did is I turned all the radios off and the autopilot off. And the last thing I did is I grabbed the mic for the HF radio. The planes, when we're doing these ferry flights, we put a HF. It's like a ham radio, high frequency, strapped to the top of the ferry tank. And a big line antenna going out to the wing and to the tail, and that allows you to communicate over 1,000 miles. When you're long distance.
Were they pretty reliable?
Yeah, not too bad.
I've never played with one really.
Yeah, they can be kind of tricky because the frequencies are all really weird and they got a lot of settings on there, but they work. And I get on the I key the mic to tell ATC that, hey, you're not going to hear from me for the next 12 hours.
Yeah.
I've got, tell them what's going on. And as soon as I key the mic, the lights that I'd left on in the cockpit went immediately to black. Everything went, like, oh, shit.
Yeah, and you're in the desert at night. So
in the desert at night.
No loom.
Completely dark outside.
Yeah.
Now, luckily, I had my flashlight handy, my old mini mag light. And, I get that, and I shine it on the instrument panel because otherwise you can't see.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's dark out.
You're closing your eyes and trying to fly.
Yeah, it's basically you'll lose control of the airplane immediately. And if you can't see the artificial horizon or any of your instruments. So I shine that on there. But I realized by keying the mic, the HF radio, that uses a lot of juice. That sucked my battery dry. I'm like, oh, that was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that.
Oh, shit. And what hour was this at?
This was hour 3 of a 14, 15-hour leg. Like, and I can't turn around.
Because it's closed.
I can't because the airport's closed and there's a sandstorm. It's like I have no juice in the battery at all. So I have no idea how long do sandstorms last. Is the sandstorm going to be moving? I got to fly through it. I mean, I really can't.
You can't talk to anybody.
And I can't talk to anybody. So I'm like, that's probably not a good call. So I guess I'm going to the Ivory Coast with no juice in the battery and no alternator. And so I kind of I'm got the plane, start hand flying, which is hard work. Hand flying an airplane in great conditions with all your instruments working takes a lot of work. Doing it by flashlight is tough. And I'm sitting there holding it. So actually have a mini mag light. It might even be this one. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But this is what we flew with back then. We didn't have headlamps back in 1991 because they just didn't exist. The dog mushers in Alaska have them. They're big.
Yeah, they're probably
affairs,
big,
but,
huge.
So all pilots flew with these, and of course I only had one, but she still works. So, but sitting there holding it and hand flying, well, that got to be kind of old after a while. So I tried setting it on the ferry tank, but it would roll around. That didn't work. And finally, I took this little clip here, and the headliner's got a zipper right here.
Yep.
And I unzipped that, and I was able to clip the flashlight in the headliner and kind of have it shine on the instrument panel. And that's how I flew for a real long time.
Oh my gosh.
And then I started to take stock of my situation. One of my problems was batteries. I had one spare set of batteries. I had two batteries, AA's in my Walkman, which was pretty dead. Because I've been using them a lot.
You've been jamming out a little bit?
Been jamming on my tunes for quite a while since St. Paul. And so those weren't good. Those weren't going to be very good. And one spare set, and that was it. So, and these weren't brand new. They were
been used.
They've been used. They've been in my flight bag for how long? Who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm thinking that's going to be, I bet that becomes an issue
Quick.
after a while.
Sooner than you thought it was.
Sooner than convenient. So, but for the meantime, I was okay. But then it was just a long night. It takes so much concentration to hand fly.
Right.
And I still had 12 hours to go. I had a long way to go.
Yeah.
And the other problem was I couldn't even read my book anymore because you can't hand fly and read a book at the same time. Because I really needed to hold a straight course. Now,
because you're just off magnetic compass at this point too.
Nope. Actually, the GPS was still working. I couldn't shut it off. I didn't want, and before I turned my master off, which would have isolated the entire system, I got a good heading on my GPS. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this, but I got the manual out and I looked, and it had an internal backup battery on it. It's like, okay, that's cool, and so I left that on. And hopefully, the battery was pretty dead, but it was still going. So I at least had a good heading. But I wanted to hold that heading. I had no idea how long it was going to last.
And you didn't have winds aloft, too.
No winds aloft, so I don't know where the winds are going to change. I'm flying, across the entire United States. It's a long ways.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I couldn't, I thought about turning the GPS off and then going for a couple hours and turning it back on, and so I could save the battery. But the problem with those early GPSs is once you turned them off, if you flew for a long ways, if you moved that GPS with it off for hundreds of miles, when you turned it back on, it didn't know where it was anymore. It didn't know what satellites to look at, because in the early days of the GPS, they didn't have as many satellites as we do now. So it would be searching the sky for satellites, and a lot of times it wouldn't find itself. Like or it would take a really long time. Like the handheld GPSs, if I got an airliner and flew to Germany or something to pick up an airplane, when I turned it on, it would I have no idea, and it would take hours to figure out where it was. So I wanted to leave it on. But I couldn't read a book because I wanted to hold a heading, and I couldn't listen to the tunes because my last set of batteries, and I thought I might need them. So there it was, just hand flying for hours and hours and hours by myself. By the way, I didn't have anybody in the plane.
Right.
So
and your sleep schedule's got to be just screwed
I was
point, because you're from St. Paul. 2 days ago?
Yeah. My
and you're flying through the night.
My body was all messed up. I couldn't. I tried to get sleep during that afternoon. Before that, I got zero sleep. So fatigue was definitely an issue.
Yeah, and you're not anywhere near being done.
No, think about if you just got in your car and somebody says, okay, you're just it's a short 12-hour drive to Denver, and you can't stop.
Yeah.
You're driving straight through. It's an all-nighter, and you're by yourself, and the radio doesn't work.
Yeah.
And it's just you in the car. How inconvenient would that be?
Yeah. Now do it in an airplane where you have to really focus on not crashing. Yeah.
So get going along, and after a couple hours, the flashlight starts getting dimmer. Yeah. Dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. And pretty soon it was coming. It is time. Oh, back the story up. So I get about halfway, and I decided I was going to go. I know I wasn't supposed to go to Bamako.
Yeah.
Pete, my boss, said that there's nothing there, but I thought, I wouldn't mind stopping at Bamako, catching some Z's, wake up in the morning,
and finishing this. Yeah.
The day. And Bamako was almost dead on my way. It wasn't more than 20 or 30 miles out of the way.
Right.
So why not? And by this time, I'm in clouds now. It's IFR. And I fly to Bamako, and it's on the GPS. It had a rudimentary database on it. Doesn't have approaches or anything, but it's like, you put in the identifier. It's like, it's over there.
It's somewhere over here. Yeah.
You're here. That's it. No runways, no frequencies, none of that stuff. But we
promise there's an airport here. Yeah. It's somewhere over here.
So I fly to it, and I start descending. I'm doing a circling descent, and there's different. It was actually pretty cool. There's different layers of the clouds.
Yeah.
And I got through one of the last layers, and there's still a cloud layer below me, and I can see the lights of the city glowing in the clouds.
Oh, nice.
It looked like a kid, when you have a flashlight under a blanket or something at night. That's what it looked like. It's like, oh. And I circle down, and I'm getting lower and lower, and the clouds are pretty low. But I have no idea how low because, number one, I don't have a current altimeter setting.
Right.
So I have no idea how high I am. I've gone hundreds and hundreds of miles. And I don't know what the bases are. So I get into the clouds, and I'm getting lower and lower and lower, and I get to the point where I'm probably around 1,000 feet AGL.
Right.
And I'm going, man, I don't know.
This is a little sketchy.
It's getting sketchy. I don't know. I have no idea. Does this place have skyscrapers or a big maybe it has antennas, one of these monster antennas, radio antenna.
Power lines.
So I'm thinking, yeah, this is probably a bad idea. So reluctantly give her power and climb back into the clouds and take off.
Back up.
I guess I'm going to Ivory Coast. Yay.
What altitude were you flying at?
Probably about 12, I believe. Something like that.
Was there a reason you picked 12 or?
No, I just usually fly 10, 12,000 feet, just better range, efficiency, performance. And so back at it. And about an hour or so later, that's when the flashlight started dying.
Oh.
And like, oh, shit.
Did it just start getting dimmer and dimmer?
Yeah. So then I'm thinking, so here's my problem. Is I don't only have one flashlight. And remember, this is way pre-cell phone, so there's nothing. Yeah. I don't have matches. I have nothing that will illuminate the panel.
You got that.
I have this. And the problem is, once I turn this off, then I can't see the instrument panel anymore, and I can't control the airplane.
It's again closing your eyes, essentially.
Essentially, yeah. So it's just like, a VFR pilot flying into the clouds. They say he's got 90 seconds before he enters a spin and dies. If you can't see the artificial horizon or any of your instruments, you can't control it. You can't use your butt. You can't just kind of feel it. It won't work. And I was thinking, it's like, if I screw this up, if I drop part of this, if I drop one of the batteries or I drop a piece, I'm going to die. Because it's total IFR outside, lights off, pitch black.
Yeah, it's like that when you go with your instructor and do the recover from an unusual attitude. Yeah. But try to recover from it with your eyes closed.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Yep.
You're dead.
So, the thing is, to change batteries in this, you got to unscrew the base, and then you got to dump the batteries out, and then put the new batteries in the correct way, put them back in, screw the base in. Now the thing on these they're relatively fine threads, metal threads, so it's easy to cross thread these things, and it's got a little spring in there, and that spring also comes off because there's actually a little extra light bulb in there.
Okay.
But if the spring comes off, if the spring pops off,
it's not connected.
It's not going to work.
Yeah.
And you'll die.
So there's a lot of things
so you better hope it stays on. So I thought about how I'm going to do it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have, both batteries, have the batteries in my mouth. And I'll take it off, and I'll dump the bad batteries in my lap. I'll put the new batteries in. First, I have to see which way the batteries go because I wasn't sure. Do they go positive side down or positive side up? Mm-hmm. Don't know.
We're going to find out.
And then hopefully get it back together and turn it on again, and it works. and hopefully the plane hasn't gotten into a spin or an unrecoverable dive. At this point it's going to be, and there you go. What altitude? And then try to recover.
And those aren't the brightest.
No,
they're not the brightest. They're not in the world.
And I don't even know for a fact that the batteries I'm putting in there are good.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in my bag of batteries, but they're not.
Bag of batteries. Yeah.
Well, when I leave, I got a bunch of batteries for my Walkman. That's mostly why I carried batteries. I got some for the flashlight.
Yeah, but you don't know if you
I need it. But I'm never really going to need it. So I did that, and actually, we went up and practiced that, and let's take a look at that.
Yeah, I think it came out to like what 20. It was like 26 seconds or 20 seconds.
Yeah, something like that. So wasn't too bad. And I don't remember how fast I did it, and I don't remember how out of control the plane was.
Right.
I just remember that I didn't die.
Yeah.
Kind of blanking that spot out, but it was nerve-wracking. That was scary.
And I was one shot.
Got one shot at it. And I was really kicking myself because I should have changed batteries at Bamako.
Oh.
Because when I was flying over those clouds and the light from the city was shining up through the clouds,
right.
There was probably enough ambient light in the cockpit that I could see. Plus, I would have, you could see the clouds. I was essentially at that point VFR because I was in between layers.
Yeah.
So I could see the clouds, and I could have changed batteries, no problem. But hindsight was 2020.
Right?
Hindsight was 2020. So
and that's when we got into that like the routine. You're kind of looking to land at that point,
right?
You're not thinking about.
And I'm really tired.
Yeah.
So I get the batteries changed, and then it's on to the Ivory Coast. And then it was really kind of cool. I get in this mode. I mean, I go through different zones of tiredness when I'm ferry flying.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the worst part. I pinch the inside of my thighs a bunch. Mm-hmm. I do isometric exercises. I yell and scream. I couldn't sing. I usually sing along with my tunes.
Yeah.
Play a little air guitar. Drum on the instrument panel. Do whatever I can to keep myself going.
Yeah.
And I'll also take little micro naps. It's amazing. Well, it's hard when you're hand flying. It's different when you're on autopilot, but when you're hand flying, you really can't do it.
Yeah.
But a little micro nap will a lot of times, even just a couple of seconds. It's weird.
We don't condone micro naps.
Don't do it normally. Over the ocean, sure, or the desert. I was the Sahara Desert by myself. Probably, but usually I get to the point where I'm already dreaming before I close my eyes. Jeez. You get so tired, you're in REM sleep, and it's like you're like instantly into dream mode. Yeah. And I trained myself through panic and waking up
through almost dying
to sleep for 5, 10, 15 seconds and then jerk myself awake. But it's actually pretty refreshing because it's amazing. But then I'll go into a different mode or cycle where all of a sudden I'm awake again. Mm-hmm. So I remember being in a point where I've left the clouds behind and I can see stars, and my night vision is awesome.
Yeah,
I've got this dim flashlight shine, and I've got it set down as low as I can to save the battery. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at these stars, going, "Wow, this is incredible!" And I can kind of see the cowling, the front of the airplane. I'm like, "It's kind of bright out. This is cool." And I turn off the flashlight experimentally just to see, and I could see. I mean,
no way.
I could, it was like I could see by starlight. It was so, and once you have stars, then you can kind of control the airplane because you can tell if you're turning.
It's kind of you get a little bit of visual.
It's a horizon.
Yeah,
you can see the desert down there, and every once in a while I see a little fire down in the desert, and I'm like, is that some nomad guy or is it an oil well or
walking his camels
every once in a while a little speck of light would go past, like I don't know what that is, but it was pretty magical there for a while.
As I hear you go by, like I wonder what that was.
But then just as I'm feeling really good about my chances, boop, there goes the GPS. It finally gave up the ghost. I'm like, crap. So now I've got my last, and at least I was being diligent. I kept noting, keep my DG set up because my vacuum system was still working.
Yep.
And the compass heading, I could remember what heading I was on, 180 or something. It was pretty much dead south. And with the GPS, it's compensating for whatever winds left. So I've got a good heading. Mm-hmm. So once the GPS went, it's like, okay, now I have this one last heading. Yeah. Let's hope that the winds lot don't change much.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now I'm just holding this last heading and compass heading. And I fly like that for a while, and finally on the eastern sky, it starts getting a little lighter. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I think I'm going to make it till sunrise. And finally, good. I even took a picture of it. Just got the picture here. The sun peeking above the horizon. Like, yes, I made it through the long night. It was like 8.5 hours of hand flying in the dark by
Just
flashlight.
stressing.
Well, yeah, but you can only stay terrified for so long. I mean,
True.
And really, I don't ever remember being scared. Okay, it was over 30 years ago, but it's kind of one of those things. Once you've been ferry flying for a while, a lot of this sort of stuff happens a lot,
You're
and
right.
there's no sense panicking because that doesn't
It's not
do
gonna do
you
anything.
it doesn't do you any good. So it's like you just go like, well, crap, what am I going to do now? And you just start working the problem. So I just was the whole time just kind of working the problem, and it worked out. So now
Do you think that came from? Sorry to cut you off. Do you think that like that mindset came from like just experience of like if I don't do anything, it's just dead. Like I die, especially in like ferry flying, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's like that panic. It's never worked out for any pilot because pilots like if you panic, you die. You need to figure out how to solve this problem, or you're dead.
Yep.
You know, is that probably kind of why that like mindset got into ferry flying?
Yeah.
Like, try not to panic.
Yep. I mean, I came up with the saying like if you got time to panic, you got time to do something more productive. You know,
Right.
it's like it was
Yeah.
just like, all right, here's the next problem.
Yeah.
Some problems are easy, some problems are hard. This one was just harder than most.
Right. You can make your situation better, or you can make it worse by
Yep.
panicking.
Yep.
Okay.
So the sun comes up. Now it's easier. I'm following my heading, and it gets brighter. And instead of, I look down and I was kind of surprised. Instead of being over sand dunes and sand and the Sahara Desert, I'm over jungle,
Okay.
like
yeah.
palm trees and stuff. I'm like, huh. I had no idea I really didn't know what the topography was going to be from the Morocco to the Ivory Coast. I didn't know what the Ivory Coast looked like. I was
Just going up.
I'd never even heard of the Ivory Coast before this trip. I'm like, okay, I'm going to Africa. Never.
Yeah.
So I believe this is my first trip to Africa. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm flying along, and now with the GPS dead, I'm kind of worried. It's like, okay, well, I've got no radio, so I don't think I'm going to be able. I'm pretty sure the battery's dead.
Right.
So I don't think that I'm going to have any way to find the airport. And I'm looking at my map, and there's the city of Abidjan, Abidjan, the Ivory Coast. And there's not another city on the coast for a couple hundred miles either way that has an airport. There might be some towns or something, but I've got an IFR map. It's not a VFR map.
Yeah.
So all I have there's an airport symbol there, and there's nothing for a couple hundred miles in either direction. I'm thinking, huh. Now, if these winds pick up and blow me off course, if when I get to the coast, there's going to be a couple things. First of all, if it's IFR, if it's cloudy over the coast, I'm not even going to know when I cross the coastline.
Right.
So, and south from the coastline is a lot of ocean, a couple thousand miles of ocean. I don't have enough fuel to continue south and go across Antarctica and come up into Asia someplace. So I hope it's not cloudy because I won't be able to identify the coastline. I had a rough idea of where the coast was. So when I got there, I'd probably go for another half an hour, and then I would turn back and go back up north because I didn't want to have to ditch in the ocean.
Yeah. How many hours did you have left on this leg? Or on
once the sun came up, I had about 3 hours left.
Okay.
2 or 3. So my next problem was, okay, so say it is VFR, say it's nice out. If I can't see the city when I get to the coast, which way should I go? Because I won't have enough fuel to search both east and west. See, that bottom part of the bulge where the Ivory Coast is, the shoreline runs east and west because Africa was like that. And so at that point, then it's going to be flip a coin, left or right. And if I choose wrong, I'm going to run out of gas and have to ditch it on the shoreline or in a field someplace.
Right.
I probably wasn't going to die, but it was going to be really hard on the paint.
Yeah. after you tried,
the boss is going to be. I don't really want to crash, so I'm thinking, well, how am I going to, what should I do? And it was about that time. I'm looking down at the palm trees beneath me as the morning sun's getting lighter, and I see steam rising up from the jungle, and it's just kind of hanging there. And it doesn't look like there's any wind down there. Oh. It looks pretty calm, which is often the case first thing in the morning. Look even here,
Yeah,
right away in the
zone.
morning, it's almost never windy in the
dead.
morning, at least at the surface.
Yeah.
So I go, well, I'm going to go down there. I'm going to fly at treetop level for as long as it stays
Right.
calm. And then I know my compass heading is still taking me pretty darn close to Abidjan.
Right.
So I dropped down low. Now, the fact that I really love buzzing, flying at treetop level, had nothing to do with it.
I was going to say, it had nothing to do
Nothing
with
to
you
do
wanting
with
to
it.
do that
I mean,
or anything.
but
But we're emergency
it
scenario.
was an emergency.
scenario.
I had no choice but to fly at treetop level.
Confirmed.
So I did that for about half hour, 45 minutes, which was a blast. And it wasn't trackless jungle. Every once in a while, you'd see a little
Little
a hut or a couple of houses or something.
fishing village, maybe.
But no. But I mean, there really wasn't. There were no towns. There were no cities.
Yeah.
It was pretty barren. And then after a while, the wind started picking up. You could see the mist all went away, and then all of a sudden you see the top of the palm trees kind of swaying in the breeze. And they actually got kind of windy. So I climb up a bit, and I think, okay, now do I try to compensate into the wind to compensate for it, or what? And if I do it, how many degrees? 10, 20, 30? And is it going to be enough? And and it's just still going to be a guess. And if by the time I get to the coast, which is, I could easily miss it completely. So
Right. How much fuel, or by estimations, when you got to the coast, how much time did you have
I
left
figured
to
I'd
fly?
probably have an hour and a half reserve. Maybe an
Okay.
hour. Don't really know.
Guesstimating.
Fuel gauges aren't working.
Yeah, and you've been flying all night.
Yeah.
You're tired. You've been up and down, and
So then I had a thought. What if I knew which way it was? How would I know? It's like, so I thought, well, if I purposely go really far to the right, to the west, that way when I get to the coast, I'll know it's to the east, and then I'll go that way. I thought it was pretty smart. I'm like,
I think
that's
so
a
too.
really good
Yeah,
idea.
especially.
So
I
I
didn't have any
figured,
other options at that point either.
well, yeah, but then it was scary because, I think this is a good heading, and now I'm purposely going to be wrong, but I gave it a shot.
Yeah.
So I went about 20 degrees right, and I'm looking at the wind. I'm like, maybe 25, and then let's go 30. And I think maybe we went 35 at one point. It's like, I'm going to make sure.
missing.
I want to make positive,
I am not
damn
hitting that
sure
airport.
it's going to be to the left when I get there. So I did that. Flew the last couple hours to the coastline. Finally get to the coast. Thank God it was clear.
Yeah.
I'm like, awesome, there's the coast. Take a left, fly down the left, and it really wasn't. I think I only had to go half an hour,
Okay.
something like that. It wasn't really that far away. And then I can see some pretty tall buildings like,
This
Yep,
might be it.
there it is. Cool. I'm getting closer. At this point, I try my radios, turn the radios back on. The little LED lights come up, all 888s. It's like, nope, I got no juice.
Good luck. Yeah.
It's I dead battery. And so I start getting close to town, and then I can see kind of right up, really close to the coastline, big airport, the international airport. It's like, hallelujah, found it. But now I got to land, and I see airliners parked there. I mean, a
It's
couple
busy.
of them. It's a big airport. I didn't see any airplanes, but
Yeah.
it's not little.
They do major operations.
It's not
over there,
a
yeah.
little municipal airport with a Piper Cub in the corner. It's a big city. It's a big airport. So I get about 4 or 5 miles away, and I start circling, waiting for the guys in the tower to see me and hit me with the light gun.
Yep.
And I circle a couple times, like nothing. I'm like, maybe they don't see me. I get a little close, circle, nothing. I get a little closer, circle, nothing. It's like, I've had about enough of this crap. It's time to buzz the tower, Goose.
No way.
Well, I'm like, I'm just
Yes.
done. At this point, I am done.
Yeah.
And I
I'm
figured-
surprised you gave
and-
it that long of circling.
And the safest thing I thought was to go right over the middle of the runway, right, midfield crosswind, because planes land like this.
Yep.
They don't, the center of the runway should be mine.
The only other person you should be hitting is someone
Yep.
else doing what you're doing.
And I kind of see a tower, and I go, wow, 500 feet over the tower, like they ought to see that.
Yeah.
And I get past the runway, and I turn around, and I make a couple circles, still no light gun signal. I'm like, are you shitting me?
They don't have a
Fine.
light gun.
Well, now it's time to land. Now, 210s is retractable. I got no
yeah,
juice
yeah.
left. But I'd already looked up in the manual. I knew I was going to have to manually extend the landing gear. So I get the pump out and I start pumping. I believe it was like 58 pumps. And you're pump. The thing travels. It's like ink, 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 ink. It's a tiny little
Like, is this
little
even
handle.
working?
Yeah, it's like this dumb little thing ain't gonna do it. And you see the wheels. They go about an inch at a time. Kind of come out and finally watching. Finally they come out, but I have zero juice left in the system, electricity, so I won't get 3 greens. You select down, and I pumped till the 58 and a couple for good measure, and they kind of stopped moving and down. I'm like, okay, I think so. And there's not a satisfying thunk.
Yeah, locked in. You're like, cool.
It just like gets harder to pump, and it was like a little over 58, and there's no 3 greens. Like at that point, I guess it is what it is. It either collapses or it doesn't.
See what happens.
So and no flaps. Because you can't manually extend the flaps, and I don't juice for it. It's going to be no flap landing. Nice long runway.
Yeah,
but so then I just kind of look and I don't see any traffic. I'm like, I guess I'm just going to come in and land. I'm I'm pretty much done at this point. I'm like, I'm coming in.
You did your due diligence of circling and
so I come in and land
the tower.
And as I'm, you flare and trying to make it the smoothest landing I ever had because I don't know the gears down and locked. And it's like you're doing one of these. Yay! It didn't collapse. And slowly slow down. And I get off the runway, get on the taxiway to go to where the FBO was, and I don't even get halfway there. And this dude in this Jeep, this old Willys World War II era, it looked like it was from World War II. This was a beat up Jeep.
It probably could have been.
Probably was. Comes flying up beside me, and he's yelling and waving, and I'm like, I've got a headset on. I'm in an airplane. I can't hear what you're saying.
Wait. Yelling in an airplane doesn't work?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's like the people in the movies that are yelling. Hey,
we're down here.
Can't hear you. So,
don't yell
and I'm just like going, I'm going to taxi over. I mean, unless you want me to stop here on the taxiway, I'm going to go over here where there's a parking spot. So I stopped there, shut the plane down after it's like 15 and a half hours. And I'm just drained. The propeller goes to stop, and I'm like, oh, my God, I've just been through a lot. And do I have time to take stock or take a breath or go kiss the ground? No, this dude is like jumping up and down. Come on, here. I'm like, what? Open the door. Dude. Hi. And he did not have to get that. Welcome to the Ivory Coast. No, he's like, the airport manager wants to see you right now. Get in the Jeep. I'm like, seriously? I mean, really? Can I go? Is there a restaurant here? Bathroom? Like, no, get in the Jeep right now. Like, just need to know. Get in the. Like, fine. Hop in the Jeep. Other end of the airport. Go to this, this building. Walking in there, and inside's this really mad Frenchman. Or I should just say a Frenchman. They're always, I can't really tell if they're mad or not because they always look like that.
They got that stern accent too when they speak. It's like,
do you know?
Are you happy or mad?
Do you know we have been 11 countries been looking for you all night? They're smoking a cigarette and like no, and like, can I go? And he's stomping up and down, and I can't even tell him what's happened yet. He's like, you're supposed to be talking on the radio, and just.
It's like a period at the end of the sentence.
And he goes, and then he explains to me that, the French own the Ivory Coast. He goes, you are very lucky, my friend. I'm going home. He's leaving that night, that afternoon, to go back for his 3 months off. The French bureaucrats work 9 months in Ivory Coast, then he goes home to France for 3 months. And he was leaving that afternoon. He's like, if I was not leaving this afternoon, I would put you in jail, but I do not have time for you. And he slams the notebook down from me, write down everything that happened, and your whole statement, and then, okay, fine. So I'm sitting there. I still got to go to the bathroom really bad, by the way. Write everything down, hand it to him. He's like, he doesn't even read. He's like, fine, get out of here. I'm like, well, thanks. Oh, I'm okay, by the way. Thanks for asking.
He didn't care what happened to you.
No, he didn't care one bit. That he said 11 countries were out looking for me all night. Bull.
What 11 countries?
We might have got a bill from 11 countries, but there was nobody. There was nobody out looking for me, and I knew that for a fact because afterwards, I get out of there. Finally, find a restroom, go back and talk to the FBO, tell them what happened, get some maintenance scheduled for it, And I finally get a phone, find a phone, and I call Orient Air back in the States, to let them know I'm okay. Because if 11 countries were looking for me,
surely they would have been notified.
Obviously called Orient Air to find out what.
Logically.
And Pete's wife, Barb, answers. I'm like, I'm okay. She goes, okay. Why wouldn't you be? Like, didn't anybody call her? She goes, no.
No.
Like, well, I told her what happened. She goes, cool story. Anything?
So all right. No angry Frenchman called you at all.
It's just, and it's crazy how the whole ferry flying business, that incredible event happening to me was just Thursday for them. They're like, yeah we get 4 other planes up flying around the world. Do you need anything from me right now? No. Well, then I'm going back to bed. I'm like, all right, sorry I bothered you.
Yeah, you kind of just feel like.
She goes, do you need help? No. Well, then quit bothering me. Deal with it. Like, all right, I'll deal with it. And that's what you do when you're ferry flying, especially back then, pre-cell phone. You dealt with what happened. You were on your own, which is actually what I really loved about ferry flying.
Yeah.
It was the challenge of, here's the keys to an airplane, a bag of cash, fly this to the other side of the planet. Don't bug me till you get home.
Yeah. How early did this happen in your ferry flying career?
I think this was the first year, like the first 6 months.
So that must have been like when that phone call with Barb, you said that was probably a little reality check of like, we trust you to be an adult. Figure this out. It's not a big deal. Like, we've had worse things happen. Why are you calling?
It was kind of funny. She was like, and nothing. She goes,
know,
okay, can I go back to bed now? It was like, oh my God, are you okay? How are you feeling? She didn't care about my feelings one bit.
I just wanted a gold star and a cookie, maybe.
Geez, I thought I kind of did pretty good. I got a plane. She's like, yeah, well, guys do that all the time here.
Cool story.
But did you die?
Exactly.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was that. That was the first half of the trip, and I guess we'll talk about what happened after that in part 2 of.
There's more?
This trip went on. This was the halfway point, and it did not get any less exciting.
Okay. We're going to have to, part 2.
Stay tuned for part 2.